Any new presidential budget is a blizzard of numbers, so the question about President Trump's new budget is, what's the most important one of those numbers? Well, I think the most important number is not actually $4.1 trillion, which is the amount of money the budget calls for the federal government to spend in the next year. Instead, it's 3%. 3% is the level of economic growth the budget forecasts by 2021. This is important because only with that kind of economic growth can the budget achieve its real goal of bringing balance in 10 years. That economic growth is supposed to generate enough economic activity and enough additional tax revenue to produce this balanced budget that has been so elusive for so long here in Washington. That 3% growth would be quite an accomplishment, though, because over the same period of time in coming years, the Fed estimates growth would be 1.8% rather than 3%, and the Congressional Budget Office says it'll be 1.9% rather than 3%. And the difference in terms of effect on the deficit is very dramatic. The 3% growth, as I said, brings the budget into balance in 10 years, but the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan outside group, looks at the same period of time and says that if growth is what the CBO estimates rather than what the Trump budget estimates, the deficit in that 10-year window would be $600 billion plus. So there is a large difference between 3% growth and 1.8 or 1.9% growth. That's all particularly important because the Trump economic plan also assumes that they will be able to come up with a plan for a big tax cut that is revenue neutral, that doesn't add to the deficit by eliminating tax loopholes and tax deductions in other places. So all in all, underlying the Trump economic vision, you have two big assumptions. One is that they can produce a tax plan that is revenue neutral, and the other is that they can produce 3% economic growth. Can these be done? Of course they can be done. Will they be done? Well, you'll hear a lot of skeptics in the weeks and months ahead.